Okay, welcome back to another video on the Maths channel. It's your teacher, Mr. Lim here, and in this video I'm going to attempt the Gosford High School 2023 Maths Standard 2 trial paper. This is my first time attempting it. I don't have the answers with me, so if I do make any mistakes, please forgive me, but I'll do my best. Alright, let's begin with multiple choice. A set of data is displayed in this box and whisker plot. Which of the following best describes this set of data? So where it's, so we can see that each quartile represents 25% of all scores. So because this is really small, there's a lot of scores in that small space, whereas here is all spread out. So we can see here that it's probably looking like that, which is positively skewed. Cody, a revhead, is a driver at fault in a car accident. Which of the following is covered by Cody's compulsory third-party insurance? Repairs to Cody's car, injury to the other driver, damage to the other driver's car, and costs of repairing a building damaged in the accident. The answer to this one is B, injury to the other driver. The locations for three towns, A, B, and C, are shown below. C is due south of A. What is the bearing of town A from town B? So from town B means from north of town B. So here's town B. Go north in a clockwise direction until we hit the line. We want to know how big that angle is. So since this is 48, this bit here is 48 because alternate angles are equal on parallel lines. So the bearing is just 360 minus 48. So 360 minus 48, 312. The Pareto chart shows the orders received by business over 5 months. What percentage of orders were received in May? So in May, it looks like that's around 69%, but that includes the orders for April. April, we can see, is 50%, so the difference is actually 19%. So the closest one I can see here is D, 18%. The price of a loaf of bread is $2.85. Given that the price is only increasing due to inflation at a rate of 1.3% per annum, what is the expected price of a loaf of bread after 14 years? So here we're going to be using our compound interest formula. So the present value is $2.85. It's increasing at a rate of 1.3% per annum for 14 years is what we want to know. So let's put that in our calculator. $3.41. A weighted network is shown below. What is the weight of the minimum spanning tree? So to work out what the minimum spanning tree is, we highlight all the smallest edges. But if the edge we highlight creates an area that can be shaded in, we don't highlight that edge. So here the smallest edge is 1, and then 2, and then 4, and then 5. So that is our minimum spanning tree. So the weight is just all those numbers added together. 2 plus 4 is 6, plus 5 is 11, plus 1 is 12. So the answer is B. Finley bought a car for $30,000. He made a deposit of $2,200 and agreed to payments of $820 per month for 4 years. What is the total amount of interest paid for the loan? So he paid $2,200 as well as $820 per month, so that's times that by 12, for 4 years. So altogether, how much did he pay? 41,560. Now the car was only worth 30,000, so the interest paid is 41,560 minus the 30,000, which is 11,560. B. The graph of y equals 3 to the power of x is an exponential. See? A random variable is normally distributed with mean 0 and standard deviation 1. The table gives the probability that this random variable lies between 0 and z for different values of z. The probability values given in the table for different values of z are represented by the shaded area in the following diagram. Using the table, what is the probability that a value from a random variable that is normally distributed with mean 0 and standard deviation 1 is greater than 0.6? The value from .6, so I have to read this again. Okay, so these are the probabilities of the shaded area if z was 0.1. So if z was 0.1, then this area would be 0.0398. However, if z was 0.6, then the area would be 0.2257. Okay, 0.2257 if z was 0.6. So the question says, what's the probability that it's greater than 0.6? Well, we know that this entire area is 0.5, right? Because that's 50% or half of this curve. So the question is asking us, what's the probability that's greater than 0.6? So all of that. So really all we need to do is 1 minus the half and minus the 0.2257. 0.2743. See? A survey was conducted where people were asked which of two brands of smartphones they preferred. The results were 48% preferred brand X and 52% preferred brand Y. A graph displaying the data is to be included in the magazine article. The editor of the magazine wishes to ensure that the graph is not misleading in any way. Which graph should the editor choose to include in the article? Well, not A, because it needs to start at 0, and it doesn't. Not B, because B does start at 0, but this is not as wide as that one. They're not the same width. Option C also doesn't start at 0. But option D, that's good. Starts at 0 and they're both the same width. So that looks fair. Ava and Lily each invest $8,000. Ava's investment earns simple interest at a rate of 7.5% per annum, whereas Lily's investment earns interest at a rate of 7.5% per annum, compounding annually. At the end of 3 years, corrected to nearest cent, Ava will have. Alright, so let's look at Ava. Simple interest. PRN 8,000 times 7.5% times 3 for 3 years. 8,000 times 7.5% times 3 is $1,800 in interest. So we can say, therefore, her investment is the $1,800 plus the amount of money she put in. $9,800. For Lily, because hers is compound interest, we're using the compound interest formula. $8,000 times 1 plus 7.5% to the power of 3. Which is 9938.38. So Ava will have less than Lily. So it's definitely not B or D. How much less? Well, let's just subtract 9,800 from that. $138.38. So the answer is A. Question 12. 3 years ago, an appliance was valued at $2,467. Its value has depreciated by 15% each year based on the declining balance method. What is its salvage value today to the nearest dollar? So we're going to be using the formula salvage value is equal to the value at time 0 times 1 minus the rate to the power of the number of periods. So 3 years ago, it was worth 2,467. It depreciates by 15% each year, and this is for 3 years. So the question is, what is its salvage value, which is, what is S? So we're just going to put this straight into a calculator. $1,515. A flight between Sydney and the USA takes 14 hours to the nearest hour. Find the percentage error in measurement correct to 2 decimal places. So because it's to the nearest hour, the precision is 1 hour. So the percentage error is half times the precision divided by the measurement, which is 14 according to this, times by 100 to turn it into a percentage. So we've got half times 1 over 14 times 100, which is 3.57%. The collection of bushwalking tracks is modeled by the network below. There are 6 lookout points, labeled A, B, C, D, E, and F. Which 2 edges should be removed so that the bushwalker can walk along every track exactly once and still visit every lookout? So in order for us to walk along every track exactly once, then we need all nodes to be even. So we need all even nodes or 2 odd nodes, and the rest can be even. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are the degree of each nodes. 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So at the moment we've got 2 odd. So the question is asking which 2 edges could we remove? Well, in order for us to remove them, they need to both become even. Okay, so we need all even, because if we remove an even one, it might become odd, and then there'll be more than 2 odd nodes. So let's have a look at each of these. If we remove AB, so let's look at option A. If we remove AB, then that will become, let's just use a different color. That'll become 2, and this will become 3. And if we remove BE, then that will become 2 from that 3. And this will become 2. Which is okay, because now all of these nodes are even. So I'm saying that the option is A. The triangle below has an area of 18 centimeters squared. What is the value of x? So the area of a triangle is half AB sine C, where A and B are the sides surrounding angle C. So they're the two known sides. Well, the area is 18. We've got x for A, we've got 2x for B, and we've got sine of 150 degrees. So if I were to, let's get rid of this fraction. So if we divide 18 by half, we'll get 36. 2x squared sine 150. Now I might, because this is times sine 150, I might divide this by sine 150. Okay. The next thing we could do is we could divide by 2. So we'll have 36 over, so bring the 2 down. That'll leave us with x squared. And so x is just the square root of that. 36 over 2 sine 150. Over 2 sine 150 is 6. So that's the value of x. Alright. A regular deck of playing cards contains the same number of cards of each suit, diamonds, spades, and clubs. Kalen conducted an experiment where he randomly selected a card from a regular deck, recorded the suit of the card, returned to the deck, and shuffled the cards. He repeated this experiment 20 times, and his results are recorded in a table below. Which suit or suits does the experimental probability equal the theoretical probability? So the theoretical probability should be 1 out of 4, because there are 4 different suits, so that should be equal to 1/4. So hearts occurred 5 out of 20 times, which is 1/4. This occurred for 20, which is 1/5. Same with this one. And this occurred 7 out of 20. So hearts is the answer to this. A set of 6 scores is shown below, where x is the largest of the 6 scores. What is the smallest value of x that would be considered an outlier? Okay, so for this one we need, they are in order already. So here's our Q2, because there are 6, so we need 3 to the left, 3 to the right. That makes this one Q1, and this one Q3. So we can see here that the interquartile range, which is Q3 minus Q1, 40 minus 12, is 28. And so the largest score that is not an outlier, so maybe we'll write this down. Largest score that is not an outlier is Q3 plus 1.5 times the interquartile range, and that's on your formula sheet. Q3 is 40. Interquartile range, we've worked out, is 28. So we've got 40 plus 1.5 times 28 is 82. And so anything higher than that would be an outlier. So the smallest value of x that would be an outlier, smallest value of x that is an outlier would be 83 if they are all integers. Question 18. The graph below shows the depreciation of a laptop over time. what is the gradient of the line and what does it represent? So I'm going to pick these 2 points, this point and this point. So we can see the rise is 500, because 2,500 minus 2,000 is 500. And the run is 6, because we got from 0 to 6. So, gradient is 500 over 6. Let's see if that simplifies. Okay, maybe 250 over 3. But because the sloping down is negative, so make sure we write a negative sign, like that. Alright, what does this represent? So we can say that every 3 years, or sorry, not years, months, it's going to go down in value by $250. So every 3 months, your laptop will decrease by $250 in value. A patient requires 2,400 milliliters of fluid to be delivered at a constant rate by means of a drip over 12 hours. Each milliliter of fluid is equivalent to 15 drops. How many drops per minute need to be delivered? Alright. Okay, so because there's 2,400 mils, and each mil is equivalent to 15 drops, altogether we need to multiply that by 15. Oops. 36,000 drops are required over the 12 hours. Okay. So how many drops, maybe I'll write this, over 12 hours. How many drops per minute need to be delivered? So we need to divide that 36,000 by 12 to get it per hour, and then divide it by 60 to work out per minute. So divide by 12 and 60, and we get 50 drops per minute. The probability that Arabella will score more than 100 points in a game of bowling is 21 out of 30. Isabella states that the probability that Arabella will score less than 100 points in a game of bowling is 9 out of 30. Is Isabella correct? Give a reason for your answer. So, yes, she is correct. The two events are complementary events. Which add to 1. (21 out of 30 plus 9 out of 30 is equal to 1. Arabella plays 2 games of bowling. What is the probability that she scores more than 100 points in the first game and then again in the second game? So the probability that she'll score 100 plus points in both games she has 21 out of 30 chance of getting 100 or more in the first game, and the second is also the same probability, so we need to multiply like that. So we've got 21 out of 30 times 21 out of 30, 49 out of 100. Five boxes with varying weight are arranged from lightest to heaviest, left to right. The following data is given about the boxes. The mode is 0.6, the mean is 1.2, the median is 0.9, and the range is 1.5. Write above each box its weight. Okay, if the median is 0.9, that's the middle box, so that's 0.9. The mean is 1.2, so what I'm going to do with that, because there are 5 boxes, I'm going to multiply the 1.2 by 5. So we know that the total weight of each box, the total weight of the 5 boxes altogether is 6 kilograms. The mean is 1.2. Range is 1.5 and the mode is 0.6. So because mode is 0.6, that's the most common one. Both of these have to be 0.6. Right, mode is most common. Because the range is 1.5, I need to add 1.5, like range is highest minus lowest. So box 5 minus box 1 will equal to 1.5. So 1.5 plus the 0.6 is 2.1. And now I'm going to use this total weight of 6 kilograms to work out what box 4 is. So we've got 0.6 plus 0.6 plus 0.9 plus 2.1 is 4.2. So in order for all 5 boxes to add to 6 kilograms, box 4 has to be 1.8 kilograms. Because 6 minus 4.2 is 1.8. The capture-recapture technique was used to estimate the population of koalas in a national park in 2023. 48 koalas were caught, tagged, and released. Later, 45 koalas were caught at random. 9 of these 45 had been tagged. The estimated population of koalas in 2023 was 20% less than the estimated population for 2016. What was the estimated population for 2016? Okay, so we're going to use this capture-recapture. 48 out of some unknown were caught, tagged, and released. Later, 9 out of the 45 were tagged. So we need to work out what x is. So x is in the denominator, so I'm going to flip this fraction. But because I flipped that, I need to flip this one as well. And now I can multiply by 48. And that will give us 45 times 48 divided by 9, 240. So we expect there to be 240 koalas in 2023. Now this is 20% less than the estimated population for 2016. So for 2016, the population times 1 minus 20% is 240. So the population will have to be 240 divided by whatever 1 minus 20% is. $300 koalas. A shape consisting of a quadrant and a right angled triangle is shown. And what is the perimeter of the shape correct in 1 decimal place? So, in order to work out perimeter, we need to work out what this is. In order for us to work that out, we need to work out what this is. So I'm going to use Pythagoras' theorem to work out this length. I'll call that x. So x is equal to the square root of, because that's not a hypotenuse, that's a shorter side. We're going to take the hypotenuse, square it, and subtract the other shorter side and square it. When we put that in the calculator, we'll get 8. So that's 8. That means this is 8. And so now we can work out this arc length, L. So L is 1/4 of the circumference of a circle, which is 2 pi r. So 2 times pi times r. But the radius we've worked out is 8. So we can put this in our calculator. .57 centimeters. And so now we can answer the question, what is the perimeter? It's 8 plus 6 plus 10 plus the 12.57. I'll round it to 1 decimal place because the question says to 1 decimal place. So we'll get that plus 8 plus 6 plus 10. 36.6. Okay. We do not include this one because that's on the inside, not the outside, and perimeter is the outside of the shape. Will purchased 200 BHP shares at $42.56 per share. The brokerage fee for the purchase was $9.95. Will was paid a dividend of $1.20 per share, then immediately sells the shares for $45.31 each. The brokerage fee for the sale was $9.95. What was Will's total profit? So he paid $42.56 times 200 for the 200 shares. He also paid $9.95 to buy those shares, and he paid another $9.95 to sell those shares. Which is $8,531.90. That's how much he paid altogether. How much did he receive? He received a dividend of $1.20 per share. $1.20 for 200 shares. He also received $45.31 for selling the shares, for selling all 200 of them. So let's see how much he received. $9,302, and therefore his total profit is 9,302 minus the 8,531.9, $770.10. Emily watches TV for 3 hours every day. Her TV uses 350 watts per hour, and her electricity is charged at 37.56 cents per kilowatt hour. How much does it cost Emily to run her TV for a year? Okay, so this is watts per hour, this is kilowatt hours. So we need to divide that 350 by 1,000. So 350 watts is equal to 0.35 kilowatts. So if she watches TV for 3 hours every day, so let's do this. The cost will equal to 0.35 kilowatts times 3. We'll turn it into kilowatt hours per day. There are 365 days in a year. But we need to times that by 0.3756 to work out the cost, because that's how much it costs. We need to divide by 100 because this is in cents and we want it in dollars, otherwise it'll be too big. Now, as will be in cents if we didn't do that. $143.95. Clark's formula is used to determine the dosage of medicine for children. The adult daily dosage of a medicine contains 3,150 milligrams of a particular drug. Baby Sophia, who weighs 35 kilograms, that's pretty heavy for a baby, is to be given tablets each containing 525 milligrams of this drug. How many tablets should Sophia be given daily? Alright, so the adult, so dosage, weight is 35, adult dosage is 3150 divided by 70. Is 1575 milligrams. Now, baby Sophia, who weighs 35 kilograms, is to be given tablets each containing 525 milligrams of this drug. How many tablets should Sophia be given daily? So, tablets, maybe number of tablets, is 1575 divided by the 525. 3 tablets. Okay, so the baby needs to take 1,575 milligrams each day. Each tablet only contains 525, and that's why we need to divide them. Jack is driving on the M1 at a speed of 110 km per hour and has to brake suddenly. He has a reaction time of 2 seconds and a braking distance of 59.2 meters. Calculate his stopping distance correct to 1 decimal place. So he's traveling at 110 km per hour. He has a reaction time of 2 seconds. So 110 kilometers is 110,000 meters. And that's in 1 hour. So I need to divide that by 60. Actually, maybe I'll write like this. I need to divide that by 60 to turn that into meters per minute. And then divide that by 60 again to turn it into meters per second. But because we want to know 2 seconds, I'm going to times that by 2. So 110,000 divided by 60, divided by 60, times it by 2, is 61.11 meters. So that's how far he will travel before he starts pressing the brake. So after 2 seconds, he presses the brake, and the braking distance is 59.2. So the stopping distance is the reaction distance plus the braking distance. Which is 120.3, correct to 1 decimal place, so 120.3 meters. The network diagram below flows from the source to the sink. The minimum cut is 60 as shown. Relabel the entire network diagram by changing the weight of exactly 2 of the edges to increase the maximum flow to 80. Calculate the 2 changes, circle the 2 changes you have made. Okay. So minimum cut is 60 because 20 plus 15 is 35 plus 25 is 60. We want the minimum cut to be, which is the maximum flow, to be 80. Circle the 2 changes you have made. Okay. So I'm assuming there's lots of different answers to this. If I were to do the minimum cut here, the maximum flow would be 80. So I'm just going to make them both 40. If I make them both 40, and then all the other numbers have to be less than that, then that should be fine. Sorry, not less. It needs to be more than that. Otherwise, it'll be less. So let's just say that everything else is 50. Oh, we only need to change. Oh, we have to change the weight of exactly 2 of the edges. Oh, so I can't do that. Okay. 2 of the edges. Right. If I cut here, that would be 80. So I should probably change the weights of the smallest edges so that they are bigger. So that's 30 and 50. And I change this one and this one. Let's say I make that one 40. And I make this one, let's say 100. 50, 25, and 50. And I circle these two. Well, that won't actually make the minimum cut 80 because here the minimum cut will be 75. So I can't do that. What if I kept this one at 20 and I changed this one instead? Let's make that 100. Then that would be fine. Because now the minimum cut would have to be this one. If I were to cut along here, that's 170. 20 plus 100 plus 50. That's more than 80. If I were to cut along here, that's 220. If I cut along here, that's 150. So I think that's fine. So the 2 changes I made was this one and this one. Alright, Jack, the greatest butcher on the Central Coast, earns a yearly salary of $63,752. His annual leave loading is 17.5% of 4 weeks' pay. Calculate his total pay for his 4 weeks of annual leave. So yearly salary is $63,752. So his to work out how much he earns for the 4 weeks, we divide it by 52 because there are 52 weeks in a year, times by 4 for the 4 weeks of his normal pay. So 63,752 divided by 52 times 4 is $4,904 normal pay for 4 weeks. So his leave loading is 17.5% of that. $858.20. And therefore his total pay is $4,904 plus the leave loading. Which is 5762.2. Approximately 71% of Earth's surface is covered by water. Assume Earth is a sphere with radius 6,400 kilometers. Calculate the number of square kilometers covered by water. Give your answer in scientific notation, correct in 1 decimal place. So, calculate the number of square kilometers covered by water, so that's surface area. So the surface area of a sphere is 4 pi r squared. So we've got 4 pi times 6,400 because that's the radius of Earth squared. Which is that. But we only want 71% for water. So water is equal to 71% of that. Three 65450,163.7 square kilometers. Now the answer says, the question says, give your S in scientific notation. Correct to one decimal place. So we want 3 point. It's going to be 7 because that 5 turns that 6 into 7. So it's going to become 3.7 times 10 to the power of. So we put it there, but it's over here. We need to move it right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. So it's to the power of 8 square kilometers. Find the size of the obtuse angle ABC correct to the nearest angle, nearest degree. So this is the obtuse angle, theta. So we've got two sides and two angles. So we're going to be using the sine rule. So sine of theta over 15, remember they match with the opposite side, is equal to sine of 26 over 7. So that tells me sine of theta is equal to 15 sine 26 over 7. So theta is equal to the inverse sine of 15 sine 26 over 7. Now our calculator is going to give us an acute angle only. (69.9 degrees). Does it say to the nearest degree? It does. Okay. So that's the acute angle. To work out the obtuse angle, we need to do 180 minus that. 110 degrees. So that is the obtuse angle. Graph the following pair of equations and identify the coordinates of the point of intersection of the two lines. So let's look at this one here. We'll probably graph the x and y intercepts. So the x-intercept is when y is equal to 0. So when y is equal to 0, that whole thing will become 0. So x plus 8 is equal to 0, or x will equal to negative 8. The y-intercept is when x is 0. So that tells us that this is 0. So minus 2y plus 8 equals to 0. I'll move the 2y over, so I'll have 8 is equal to 2y to make that positive. And now we can divide by 2. So we've got an x-intercept of minus 8, which we don't have. Okay, and we've got a y-intercept of 4. Right, so maybe we might want to rearrange this then. If we were to rearrange this into gradient intercept form, so that will become, if I were to move the 2y over here, we'll have x plus 8 equals 2y. And if I divide everything by 2 now, I'll have y equals half x plus 4. Okay, just divide that by 2 and that by 2. So that tells us our y-intercept is 4 and it's got a gradient of half. So Our rise is 1, our run is 2, so we rise 1, run 2 over here. So if I were to use my ruler, just going to go through these points here. Okay. So that one is my x minus 2y plus 8 is equal to 0. The other one has a y-intercept of 7 and a gradient of 2. So this one has a gradient of 2, which is a rise of 2, a run of 1, a rise of 2, a run of 1. So we can go left 1, down 2 to continue the pattern. Left 1, down 2, left 1, down 2. So this one here that there is our y equals 2x plus 7. Identify the coordinates of the point of the intersection of the two lines. So here's the point of intersection. So the coordinates is minus 2, minus 2, 3. No, I can write it here. Minus 2, 3. Right, question 33. Part of the floor plan of a house is shown. The plan is drawn to scale. Use the plan to find the dimensions of the bathroom in millimeters. Okay, so because this is drawn to scale, I'll actually need a ruler, which I don't have. Well, what I'm saying is that this is printed. When it's printed, all of the diagrams will be the same size, but here I can, zoom in and out, so I can't actually work this one out because I don't know what size it'll be if it was printed. But use the plan to find the dimensions of the bathroom in millimeters. So what I would do is I would use my ruler and I would work out how many millimeters that is, as well as this one. And then I'll use that with the 2000. I'll work out the scale. This is 2000 as well, actually, because that's what it says here. So it's 2000 by 2000 millimeters. I think it's just asking us to work that out. I think it's just 2000 by 2000. Use the plan to find the length of AB, the internal length of the rhombus rim in millimeters. Alright, well, plan A, AB is this length all the way to here. So that's 3915 plus 90 plus 2000 plus 90 plus 3600. 9695. I should put millimeters for this one as well. Okay. Calculate the scale on the plan. Okay, so this is when I would need to use my ruler. There are 3 identical windows to be purchased for this rhombus room. Use the scale of the plan to find the width of the windows to be purchased. Give your answer in millimeters. Okay, so I don't have my ruler here, so I'll need it for this one. So what you need to do is you need to work out what the scale, what the ruler says this length is here, and then you can create. So let's say in real life that is actually 9.695 centimeters. All right, so if it was 9.695 centimeters, and that's equal to, in real life, maybe I'll do it like this, rather than equal, I'll do the ratio, 9695 millimeters. Then we can see that, well, 1 centimeter, I can divide this by 9.695. So 9695 divided by 9.695 will give us 1000. Okay, so that would be the scale if it actually was 9.695 centimeters. So from there, I would measure the length of the window. So here's our window. Let's say that was 2 centimeters. If it was 2 centimeters, then the width of the windows that need to be purchased will be 2000 millimeters. Okay? Alright. A movie theater has 200 seats. Each ticket currently costs $8. The theater owners are currently selling all 200 tickets for each session. They decide to increase the price of tickets to see if they can increase the income earned from each movie session. It is assumed that for each $1 increase in ticket price, there will be 10 fewer tickets sold. A graph showing the relationship between an increase in ticket price and income is shown below. What ticket price should be charged to maximize the income from a movie session? So here is the maximum income. So it should be $6. So the question says, this is the increase in ticket price. What ticket price should be charged? Well, they originally cost $8, or they currently cost $8. So an increase by $6 is a $14 ticket. What is the number of tickets sold when the income is maximized? So, because this one looks like it's over here, that looks like it's, what is 1,800, 20, 40, no, because there's a difference of 200 between these, between 2,000 and 1,800, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's a grid of 5 there. Each grid must be worth 40, because 200 divided by 5 is 40. So that means this one here must be, that there, this top one, is 1960 because that's 2000 minus 40. So if I were to take my 1960 and divide it by 14, that will tell us how many tickets need to be sold. 140. The cost to the theater owners of running each session is $500 plus $2 per ticket sold. Calculate the profit earned by the theater owners when the income earned from a session is maximized. So, cost is $500 plus $2 for every ticket, because 140 tickets are sold from the previous question. We'll just sum it in there. $780. Therefore, profit, which is revenue minus costs, and we said revenue was 1960. $780 for the cost. That'll be equal to $1180. Alright. All the students in the class of 30 did a test. The marks out of 10 are shown in the dot plot. Find the standard deviation corrected 2 decimal places. So this is bivariate, this is not bivariate data. This is single variable data, so we need to put our calculator in stat mode. So mode 2, 1 for this single variable data. Remember, frequency is not a variable, so do not press 2. Do not have x, y. Okay, number of students is frequency. So we've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 8, 9, and 10. So, 7 people. Got 0, 2, for 1, all the way up to 4. Eight, there was 1. 7, there was 6. And, sorry, not 7. 9, there were 6, and 10, there were 8. Right, so we need to press AC, Shift 1 to get all our S's. And standard deviation is under variance, so number 4, and it's number 3. So 3 equals 4.22. The mean test mark is 5.4. Using the dot plot, calculate the percentage of the marks which lie within 1 standard deviation of the mean. So if the mean test mark is 5.4, calculate the percentage of marks which lie within 1 standard deviation. So I would probably say -1, so it's standard deviation of -1, so or 1 standard deviation below the mean would be 5.4 minus 4.22. Which is 1.18. And 5.4 plus 4.22 is 9.62. So I want to include all of the marks that are in between these. So 1.18, so all of these ones, all the way up to 9.67, so we don't include the 10, so we want all of those ones. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. So that's 13 out of 30, because 30 people did the test. And we're going to times that by 100 to turn it into a percentage. Let's put it back into normal mode. So mode 1, 13 out of 30 times 100 is 43.3 repeater percent. Amanda states that for any dataset, 68% of the scores should lie within 1 standard deviation of the mean. With reference to the dot plot, explain why Amanda's statement is not relevant in this context. So we can see here that because it's not normally distributed, okay, the 68% only relates to when it's normally distributed. So we can just write that down. So in this context, the scores are not normally distributed. So 68% of the scores are not within one standard deviation of the mean. The results of two class tests are normally distributed. The means and standard deviations of the tests are displayed in the table. Zara scored 63 in test 1 and 62 in test 2. She states she has performed better in test 1 than test 2 relative to the class. Justify whether you agree or disagree with her statement with appropriate calculations. So for test 1, her Z score, she got 63, the mean was 60, and the standard deviation was 6.2. So she has a Z score of 0.48, so she's above average. For test 2, her Z score is, she got 62, the average was 58, standard deviation was 6. Two-thirds, 0.67. So she did better in test 2. So I would disagree. With her statement. Since the Z score of test 2 is greater than the Z score of test 1. If 150 students sat test 2, how many students would you expect to have scored less than 64? So because it was normally distributed, and for test 2, the mean was 58, with a standard deviation of 6, that will mean that has a Z score of 1. How many students would you expect to have a score less than 64? Well, that's 50% here. This is another 34%. So that's 84%. Okay, 50%. This one's 34%. A manufacturer spends $60,000 for a machine which produces a specific part for the jet engines. The graphs and equations representing the manufacturer's cost and income from the sale of the parts are shown on the diagram below. At the break-even point, how many parts are sold? So here's the break-even point. So we've got 20N is equal to 60,000 plus 5N. Okay, so where they are both equal to each other, where income equals cost, so 20N is equal to 60,000 plus 5N. So I'm just going to solve this. I'm going to minus 5N from both sides. I'm going to divide by 15. 4,000. What profit is made per part when N parts are sold? So what we need to do is we can see that here we've got 20. Oh, I think it's talking about here. Here's n. Alright, so profit is just 120,000 minus 90,000. That's 90,000 now. So this is the profit. So that's $30,000. So $30,000 profit altogether when n parts are sold. But the question says what is the profit per part? Therefore, 30,000 divided by n dollars profit per part. A random variable is normally distributed with a mean of 0 and standard deviation 1. The probability values given in the table for different values of z are represented by the shaded area in the diagram below the table. Okay. So what this is saying is a z-score of 0 has a probability of 0.5. That represents 50%. Okay, 50%. Whereas this one here, a z-score 1.00. So if this was 1.00, then the area to the left of that will be 84. So that 50 plus another 34.13%. Okay, so that's what that's saying. Using the table, find the probability that the z-score is less than 1.16. So 1.16 is here. So that's 1.16. 0.8770. The arm span in meters for a group of 10,000 residents of a town are normally distributed with a mean of 1.68 meters and a standard deviation of 0.24 meters. Alexa has an arm span of 1.4832. Calculate the z-score of Alexa's arm span. Okay. So z-score 1.4832 minus the mean of 1.68. Standard deviation is 0.24. Negative 0.82. I don't know why they gave us so much information. Here. Determine how many of the residents are expected to have an arm span less than 1.4832. Okay, so this is probably where we use the table. So negative 0.82. Let's just say that's here. Negative 0.82. So we want to work out what this is. Well, that's going to be the same as, let's use black. Let's say that this was, let's say this is 0.82. That area is going to be the same as this. So because the table only tells us to the left of that line, of that z-score, I can do 1 minus the probability, or 1 minus the z-score 0.82. So probability would be 1 minus the z-score of 0.82. Alright, so what is the z-score 0.82? 0.82 is 0.7939. So 1 minus 0.7939 is 0.2061, and now I can use that 10,000. So the question is asking how many residents. So 10,000, well, let's do this, 0.2061 times 10,000 is 2,061 residents. Question 39. The network below shows the activities that need to occur for a project to be completed. Complete the activity table below for the network shown. So B, C, D, E, F, G. The duration of C is 5. The duration of D is 8. F 7. And G is 3. The immediate predecessor is none for A. For C, it's A. Okay, so immediate meaning what comes directly before it. So we can see here's B. What comes before B? A. That's why we've got A written here. Here's C. What comes before it? A. That's why we need to write A. Here's D. What comes before it? A. So that's why we write A. For E, it is D. For F, it is C, but it's also B. You can see B turns into F as well. So it's B and C. We've got a dummy there. You can label it D for dummy. G is B. And H is G, F, and E. So we can write E, F, and G. OXY is a sector of a circle with an angle of 50 degrees at the center and a radius of 1,200 millimeters. How much longer to the nearest millimeter is the arc XY than the interval XY? So this is our arc. Maybe we'll call it L for arc length. So L is equal to 50 over 360. And this is a fraction of a circle. So we've got 2 pi r. 2 pi r is 1200. Let's say 2. And we'll call this one the interval x. So for this one, I think we should use the cosine rule because we've got 3 sides and 1 angle. So x is equal to the square root of a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine c. And then it's the square root of all of that. 1014.3 millimeters. So how much longer to the nearest millimeter? Therefore, we can do 1047.2 minus the answer is 32.9 millimeters to the nearest millimeter, 33 millimeters longer than interval xy. A house has a roof area of 216 square meters. All the rain that falls onto this roof is diverted into a cylindrical water tank, which has a diameter of 3.6 meters. During a storm, 35 millimeters of rain falls onto the roof. Calculate the volume of water that fell onto the roof. Give your answer in meters cubed. Okay, so because it has an area of 216 square meters and 35 millimeters of rain falls onto the roof, we need to multiply these two numbers, but we need to convert one of them to the other one. Now, because this question says give your answer meters cubed, I'm going to convert the 35 millimeters into meters. So 35 millimeters is equal to how many meters? Well, I need to divide it by 10 to turn it into centimeters, and then by 100 to turn it into meters. So that's 0.035 meters. So volume is equal to the area times the height. That's 216 times 0.035. 7.56 cubic meters. Use your answer from part A to calculate the increase in the depth of water in the tank due to the rain that falls onto the roof during the storm. Give your answer to 2 decimal places. The volume of a cylinder is given by V is equal to pi r squared h. So the volume of a cylinder is pi times, well, the radius, because the diameter is 3.6, the radius is half of that, 1.8, times the height, which we don't know. The question says calculate the increase in depth, so that's the height. So because the volume is 7.56, we can now work out the height by dividing both sides by pi and 1.8 squared. So height is equal to, or the depth, 7.56 over pi times 1.8 squared. Which is 0.74 meters. Because everything's in meters. Spencer, a football supercoach, is studying the relationship between the weight in kilograms of players and their vertical jump in meters. Spencer believes that players who weigh less are able to jump higher. The data from 10 players is shown in the table below. Find the equation of the least squares regression line. Give each value corrected 2 decimal places. So we need to put this in stat mode. Now this is bivariate data because we've got 2 different variables, weight and vertical jump. So I'm going to press 2 for 2 variables. So we'll enter all the x values, 4.5, 3, Okay, so I've entered 10 numbers. That's good because the question says there's 10 players. So now I'll start entering my Y values. Alright. Press AC, Shift 1. This is regression, so press 5. And so the equation of the line of best fit is y equals a plus bx. So let's work out what a is equal to. So 1 equals 18.75 plus b, so shift 1, 5, 2 equals 0.03. X, don't forget your X. By calculating Pearson's correlation coefficient for the data corrected 3 decimal places, justify whether the data confirms the association between weight and vertical jump. So shift 1, 5, 3 is Pearson's correlation coefficient, which is 0.199. So it looks like there is no relationship. So I'm going to say it does not confirm. Therefore, does not confirm the association between weight and vertical jump. Okay, so it looks like there's no association or no correlation or no relationship between the two variables. Okay, if R was closer to 1, then there's definitely a relationship. Question 43. The network diagram shows tasks that must be completed to finish a project. Each edge weight represents the time taken to complete the task in days. Calculate on the diagram above the earliest starting time and the latest starting time for each activity. 4 marks. Okay. So for this one here, we've got 3. So we'll need to do all the earliest start times first. So 0 plus 3 is 3. 0 plus 2 would be 2. Now we've got 2 plus 4 is 6. 6 plus 3 is 9. Now for this one here, there's 3 different ones we need to consider. 3 plus 7 is 10. 2 plus 5 is 7. And 9 plus 5 is 14. Now for the earliest start time, we always have to take the biggest number. The earliest we can start H or I is 14. Okay, it could be 14 days after we started the project. We can't start H or I 10 days after because we still need to complete G. Or we can't start it 7 days after starting the project because we still need to complete G. So the earliest time to start H and I is for G to have been completed, and that's why it's 14. Okay, so now we've got 14 plus 2 is 16. Here we've got 2 different options. 16 plus 4 is 20. 14 plus 4 is 18. We need to take the bigger one, so that's 20. And finish 20 plus 3 is 23. Okay, so those are our earliest start times. I'm just going to remove these now. Let's now work backwards for latest start time. So because that's 23, that's 23. Let's work backwards. So we're looking at this one now. 23 minus 3 is 20. 20 minus 4 is 16. This one has 2 to choose from. 20 minus 4 is 16, and 16 minus 2 is 14. So whenever we go backwards, we need to take the smallest number. So this one will be 14 here. Alright, 14 minus 5 is 9. 9 minus 3 is 6. I'm gonna fill this one now. 14 minus 7 is 7. And now we're gonna have a look at this one here. So this one, there's two different options. 6 minus 4 is 2. Or 14 minus 5 is 9. So take the smaller one, so that's 2. And here, for the start, we've got 7 minus 3 is 4. Or 2 minus 2 is 0. Take the small one, that's why this one is 0. Alright, so that's EST and LST. What is the minimum completion time for the project? Well, we can see here it's 23. So 23 days. What is the critical path for the project? So critical path involves following, I guess, whenever the EST and the LST are the same. So we're going to have our start. We're going to go to this one because that's 2, 2. We're going to go here because that's 6, 6. Here, that's 9, 9. 14, 14. This one here, 16, 16. This one here, 20, 20. And then that one, 23, 23. So it's from B to C to D. B to C to D. To G to I to J to K. So a lot of them are critical. What is the float time for activity E? So float time is just LST, the latest starting time, minus EST, earliest starting time. So where is E? So E is this one would be E. Okay, because this is of B. This is of A. No, sorry, not A, that's F. Okay, so that's F. Because it's before it's B start F. So because E is here, it's before it starts E, which is this one. But that is not actually 2, 2. Okay, so that 2, 2 is actually 4. Oops, what happened? Alright, let's just scroll back down. Oh, almost there. Alright, so this one here is not actually E. This is actually for C. Because for C is 2, 2. So for E, we'll actually need to draw another one. So the earliest time we can start E is 2, but the latest time would be 9 because of this one. So that belongs to that one. So the float time, which is LST minus EST, is 9 minus 2, which is 7 days. And that's it for this video. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. See you.